Hey, good evening, everyone. We got a rocking crowd tonight and rounding up week 7 of our 7-week webinar series. Wow, time flies, doesn't it, Mr. Berry?
No doubt about it, Reed. I'm pretty pumped about it tonight. We're talking about health, wealth, and happiness. And who would not want all three of those things, Reed, when you really think about it? You know, one thing I think we associate wealth a lot of times with just money. But one thing I found out in my career, Reed, is that people who have their health, they're wealthy. You know, I've seen some people that have worked very hard, accumulated a lot of money, and they've lost their health, and they would trade it all to get it back. And, you know, where does happiness come into play on this? I don't know if you really thought a whole lot about that, but, you know, there's a big difference between joy and happiness. You know, with joy, that really comes from the Lord, regardless of whatever storm you're in, regardless of your circumstances. You know that He's going to carry you through it. It may not be the way you want to go through it, Reed, but the good Lord's got it. Happiness is typically a fleeting moment. You know, when we buy something, maybe a new car, we're kind of happy for a little bit, maybe a new tennis racket, but that typically wears off. But I will say one thing before we really go into this about happiness. There's been a lot of surveys done, Reed, and what they have found is that people who have guaranteed incomes typically have what we call a happy life. And that's, you know, a guaranteed income is a form of annuity. And we put a lot of clients in annuities because they have that security that their money is protected, but also they have that guaranteed income stream that they know they can outlive.
I know, and I absolutely love it. The Wall Street Journal came out that the happiest people in retirement have those guaranteed paychecks.
There you go.
Which is amazing. But I'm excited that you're on here tonight because this is our seventh week of doing these webinars. So what we're going to do tonight is just do a brief recap of the 6 previous weeks. And then we've got an awesome guest speaker with my brother-in-law and Mr. Berry's son, Dr. Jordan Berry, that's going to share some things about the dental industry, as well as some different health things as well that's going on. And just like we have with the previous webinars, we always like to start with some of our favorite Bible verses because the COVID-19 has absolutely thrown everybody into a whirlwind with what's going on with people's health, with people's businesses. And we just want you to know we are Christian based. We know where we get our direction from Jesus Christ. And some of my favorite verses are John 14:27, where the Lord says, "Peace is what I leave with you. It is my own peace I give you." You're not going to get peace in the world right now, especially with the virus, or really ever. But like Mr. Berry was mentioning, with joy and happiness, joy comes from the Lord. And in Timothy 1:7, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." And Deuteronomy 31:6, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." So through all this times, we do want to tell you that God's got it. Mr. Berry, you've told me that many times throughout this, and what a blessing that is. We definitely have some disclosures. Anytime you're talking money, finances, investments, it's very important to know this isn't soliciting anything. These are the disclosures. Fixed index annuities created for times like these. This was week 1. That's hard to believe. That was 6 weeks ago, but we dove into fixed index annuities, and we'll highlight a few things. Mr. Berry, what did you love most about this week and back then?
Well, you know, this is probably one of the favorite webinars that we did. And, you know, what we've seen is, Reed, we've seen the world change right in front of us. We've seen this COVID-19, the pandemic that has affected the entire world. And listen, what has happened is changes that we've seen that have totally rocked our economy. You know, the United States was probably having one of the most robust economies that we've ever seen in the history of this country, and it's been brought to its knees. At this point in time, too, we've seen interest rates drop to 0. We've seen the price of oil go negative. We've seen all types of stimulus money that's being poured back into our economy, not only from a standpoint of just helping everyday people because they've lost their jobs, but Reed, we had a liquidity issue here with our banks and also our financial institutions in order to keep everything still going. So the future has changed, but here's one thing that I do know. Fixed index annuities will stand the test of time. They're here, they're rock solid. What they do is, we don't have clients making a ton of money because of the market volatility, but the design of a fixed index annuity is to make sure clients don't lose a ton of money. Reed, and that's the key. When you're a retiree, it's not about making a ton anymore. The key is not losing a ton.
Wow, it's so true. And that's what the beauty of a fixed index annuity is. And so let's highlight a few things. Bear markets often come. We just got out of one with the bear market. The Dow dropped 35%, the fastest bear market we ever saw. But we talked in this week about all the bear markets. Bear markets come. There's been numerous bear markets over the last 100 years. And we believe, with our average age client being 65 years young and having 3,000 amazing of them, that it's not about great returns. More importantly, it's about avoiding great losses. And then we also believe, as you get older, you should be safer with your money. So where does the fixed index annuity apply to this? Fixed index annuities are safe. You got an ironclad guarantee you can't lose any money. The next thing they give you is a growth opportunity, though. See, you could say, Reed, I don't want to lose any money and just put all your monies in the bank, but then you're not making anything. You're not staying up with inflation. Where these index products go is they give you some of the gain and none of the pain, and you can design these with absolutely no fees. So a lot of our clients absolutely hate losing money and they hate fees, which is why they love fixed index annuities.
And Reed, this is a different asset class too. I mean, think about it. It's kind of, you get the best of both worlds. I think too many people make it out to be more than what it's designed to do. But this is a safe alternative. And this safe alternative is shining very well for our clients, because I don't know what kind of price tag you can put on peace of mind. What I do know, with all the conference calls that I had today, almost every one of them was thanking me today, because they are in such a great position of knowing that they're not losing all the monies that they've spent a lifetime accumulating.
And that's so powerful for me. So when we pick up the phone and just remind these people, hey, you're not losing any money. How does that make you feel? They absolutely love it. And as advisors trying to do the best for you, it's very nice to know we're putting you in positions that you're not going to get killed. In week 2, we talked about taxes in retirement. This is my presentation I've been doing for a couple years now. I absolutely love it. And we learned a lot about a lot of things. And it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. Because when you're dealing with pre-tax accounts, everything changes in retirement when it comes to taxes. So we talked about how your income streams are taxed. And so how are they taxed? When you mention Social Security, pensions, capital gains, required minimum distributions, and then withdrawals from your 401ks, IRAs, 403bs, 457 plans, TSPs, etc. A lot of people think they're going to be in lower tax brackets in retirement, but a lot of times we've seen they're actually in higher.
Right. This is probably one of the biggest issues that we're facing, because there's no free lunch. And I'm telling you, we're facing many challenges, and we brought this out weeks ago, Reed. When you really look at the national debt and where we are, I mean, that's approaching $24 trillion. The interest on the debt alone is about $500 billion. The relief package that we're seeing with the stimulus package, the government has thrown out about $4 to $5 trillion into the economy. Student loan debt is 1.7 trillion. Credit card debt is $1 trillion. And we're going to have multiple bailouts, Reed. We've got to. I mean, think about it. The airline industry, they're only probably at 10% capacity. So the thing about it is, it's pretty cool when you really think about, if you know what's coming, you can prepare yourself, and you can take advantage of some financial tools that reward all of this. But I also want people to understand taxes are going to go up. And as taxes go up, what happens is that for the average consumer, they're paying out more in taxes, so they've got less monies to buy consumer products. What does that mean? That means that companies' sales are going down, so their revenue's going down and their stock prices are going down. And on top of that, we still got a lot of issues with Social Security. Social Security, on all the numbers that we're seeing, Reed, will be depleted in 2035. This year alone, Social Security entered into a negative cash flow. And now we've got not only the baby boomers retiring, we've got the Gen Xers. So we're going to have 140 million people that are going to be over age 65 in the next 27 years. And here's the daunting task. We're struggling to take care of the baby boomers today. How are we going to take care of the rest of these people when you really look at 50% of people in this country make less than $30,000, 2/3 make less than $50,000, and 50% of the people in this country pay no taxes at all. So I think, you know, we're facing many financial challenges, but I think if you understand these challenges, then you can take advantage and take advantage of the specific recommendations of financial tools that will reduce your taxes in the future.
Exactly. I absolutely love it, which led into the week 3 of the importance of tax-free money. Tax rates will go up and more likely increase sooner rather than later due to the deficits and spendings and things Mr. Berry just mentioned. So question, do you want taxable or tax-free money? 100% of people should say tax-free money. And do you want the IRS or your family to get your hard-earned life savings? 100% of people say they'd rather have their family have it. And so really that brought us into the Roth IRAs and the life insurance. Most people think life insurance, hey, what's the least amount you can pay for the most amount of death benefit? When you're using it as a tax-free haven of tax-free income in the future, it's, hey, what's the most amount you can put in for the least amount of death benefit so the costs go down and your returns go up. And the beautiful thing about these two positions are tax-free.
You know why a lot of people really aren't doing this or taking advantage of these? It's because of the wealthy. If you look at the top tier, the top 5% of people, wealthy people in this country, they understand tax-free money. They understand the significant problems that we're going to face with everything that I just talked about, because there is a price to pay when we're spending all this government money. But you know, just an interesting thought, even for some of you out there that you've got these traditional IRAs. Listen, you should be thinking about maybe doing a conversion to a Roth, because if you're in a position of risk and you've lost monies, now you're paying less taxes, Reed, on that conversion to the Roth. And you know, old school people say, well, I don't need any more life insurance. Well, you may not need any more life insurance, but here's a fact. You're going to want tax-free money. And so if you look at big corporate America, if you look at the wealthiest people in the world, they're using the life insurance, not from a death benefit standpoint sometimes, Reed, but they're doing it as a way to pull monies out tax-free. So they're not going to get killed in their retirement with taxation.
Exactly. So no, you may not need life insurance, but what you do need is a tax-free haven to put your money. You need a wealth transfer vehicle. You need a vehicle that's going to give you tax-free money when tax rates probably go to 60 to 70%. And you have two options between a Roth IRA and life insurance. But your Jim Harbaughs with the coach of Michigan, your Dabo Sweeney's, the head football coach of Clemson, your Ed Orgeron's, head football coach of LSU, all these guys got these big plans to get tax-free money, and they're using life insurance to do it.
Who cares if it's called life insurance? You know, we need to get off the name. The point of it is what kind of money, like you said earlier, do you want tax-free or taxable, you know, you want taxable investments? You know, we have a very short memory, but when Ronald Reagan was the president, Reed, the top tier tax bracket was around 70-some%. Listen, who's not saying that we're not going back there? You're seeing a lot of movement. You're seeing a lot of stuff going on right now where a lot of federal government is money's being spent. And there's a lot of people who think, well, the government just should take care of us. So there's some things that are going on that's going to cause taxes to go up and benefits to go down.
No doubt about it. So go back and watch these recaps, because in week 4, we talked about the importance of long-term care. Mr. Berry shared his very emotional story. And then we talked a little bit about it, because long-term care is by far going to be one of the biggest risks we all face, myself included. So question, do you want care at home or at a facility? The majority of people that we talk to would rather have it at home. We talked about how traditional long-term care policies are increasing premiums, they're reducing benefits, they've got limited benefits, so it's kind of like a Band-Aid. And then we introduced the asset-based care policies, where you've got a premium guarantee, you can design an asset-based policy with unlimited monthly benefits. It is amazing. The beautiful thing about these long-term care plans is that the benefits pay out tax-free. So if your plan is to keep your money in your 401ks and IRAs to help pay for care, well, then you better have to allocate some of that towards taxes versus allocating some of that money now towards a long-term care asset-based policy. You get that money tax-free. It comes with a cash value, and it also has a death benefit. Mr. Berry, why do you love the asset-based long-term care policy?
Well, I think long-term care goes perfectly with our age group, the retirees. You know, we're constantly talking about how they should protect their money, that they need to use cautions, they need to reduce their risk. But when you're not doing long-term care planning, what you're doing is you're subjecting your money to a greater risk that could possibly cause you to spend it down. But Reed, I'm going to tell you too, and the viewers that are listening here, you know, you really don't focus on long-term care in order to protect your assets. I think that's the way it's positioned out there by insurance companies. I think the reason you do long-term care planning is because you do it because of the people you love the most, and that you don't want to be a burden on your family financially or physically.
So true. And that's the thing, like with me, I've got disability insurance. I'm not of the correct age. I got to be a little older to get some of these unlimited long-term care benefits, but it's not about just dying. I mean, so many things can happen where you have a stroke, an accident, where you can't physically take care of yourself. And I definitely don't want my wife to have to do it for me. And then so it's a win-win-win. The asset-based care policies, in our opinion, for the right design, for the right person, that can get approved. You do have to be healthy to get approved. They want you in the good times so they can take care of you in the bad times. So the best time to try and get approved is the sooner the better from an age and health standpoint. So it's a win-win-win. In week 5, we talked about a new Betashield strategy. Some of our clients and people out there want to keep their toe in the market. They're okay assuming some of that downside exposure. But what we talked about with the Betashield strategy was a market-based investing, but still limited the downside. Very cool strategy because we were able to use our professional money management team with AlphaStar Capital Management based out of Charlotte, where we had Brooks Riley and Tony Parrish, the chief investment officer of AlphaStar, that really talked a little bit about these strategies. And basically, it went in line with the full service financial planning. We're safe money advisors. That'll never change, but some people do want to keep that exposure.
Reed, I'm really excited about the Betashield because this really complements my philosophy for the last 33 years. You know, regardless of who you are, you still want some upside, but the key is to mitigate the losses. Like you said, there are some people who are willing to take on a little bit of loss in order maybe to get a little bit higher opportunity. And, you know, for Berry Financial Group and our staff, we've had this in part of our pension plan. So we've had AlphaStar that have provided that service to us. Now we're able to take it to our clientele because, and you know, I say this all the time, we're in the ditch with our clients. So we know how AlphaStar, we know their money management, we know the design of these products and how they work. And now I think it's just so cool we're going to be able to offer these to our clientele.
Exactly. I said it last week, between my pension plan through Berry Financial Group and my own personal monies, Berry Financial and AlphaStar have all my monies. And I feel very good about it and confident with it. And that's not going to change going forward. And then week 6, we talked all about Medicare. I am the self-proclaimed Medicare master, depending on who you talk to, of course. We talked about when to enroll. We talked about when to change. We talked about Medigap plans versus Medicare Advantage plans. And then we said to shop the plans. The plans change. There's too much detail to go into tonight about the Medicare, but go back and watch the week 6 recap. We dove into a lot of that stuff. And I'm very excited tonight to welcome Dr. Jordan Berry, DMD, FICOI. We'll let him tell you what those mean. And with Myrtle Beach Dental Associates. He's going to talk a lot about some of the things mentioned on the screen. A quick little story that I got to share about my personal experience with Dr. Berry and how I'm a true advocate was I got to go back to really share this story. I got to go back to 2nd grade. I was on the baseball field playing shortstop. There was a little blue fly ball behind me. I run back. I lay out for the ball to dive. And I called it. I said, hey, mine. Well, the left fielder didn't hear me. So long story short, I dove, my teeth went into his forehead, my front teeth, and they about popped out of my mouth, but I was able to get it saved, and they did a root canal on my teeth in 2nd grade. So didn't have any issues with it until a year ago, literally a year ago of 2019. In May of last year, I started getting some pain in the back of my mouth. And I woke up, never in my life have I woken up in the middle of the night with pain. I woke up in my tooth. I'm like, man, what's going on? But then it kind of went away. Well, then the next night I did it again. And then I woke up, it got a little better. The next night I did it again. And I'm like, well, holy smoke, my brother-in-law is a dentist and he lives literally 30 seconds from me. I'm going to figure out what's going on. So I call him. He comes in there and I go to his office. He does some things back on my teeth. He said, hey, everything looks good. And, you know, everything did really look good. Well, then 2 or 3 days later, the worst week of my entire life, I'm having some pain, but it all centralized into the front of my mouth and where I had that root canal. It ended up, without being too graphic, it ended up being an abscess tooth. Dr. Berry and Mr. Berry on Memorial Day last year are in the office cleaning me up. And I'm like, what are the odds that bust my teeth in 2nd grade, it waits 20 years to have any issues until I'm living next to my brother-in-law who's a dentist who specializes in this stuff. And then my father-in-law goes in there and helps him clean it out. So long story short, Dr. Jordan Berry's the real deal. I've got a personal experience. He's helped save my teeth. He's helped save a ton of teeth, and he makes them look really good. So with that, Mr. Berry, I'll let y'all party, and then we'll come back at the end.
Okay, thank you, Reed. I'm gonna have Jordan to stand in. Listen, it is my pleasure to have Jordan Berry, my oldest son, who is now a dentist. I want to tell you a little bit about his journey. You know, from a very young age, he wanted to be a dentist. He went to, this is back in the time that we lived in Dillon, South Carolina. He went to school in Florence, South Carolina, and was part of the International Baccalaureate program, which is pretty stiff studies. He did very well from there. He kept his grades up. He got accepted to Clemson University, go Tigers. And from there, he got his dental degree. And after dental school, he decided that he wanted to further his expertise and his knowledge. He got accepted into a program that was in Augusta, Georgia. And the emphasis was on sedation and also implants. And so now, Jordan, you've been in the dentistry here in Myrtle Beach with Myrtle Beach Dental Associates for how long?
About 2 years now. Yeah.
So God brought him back home, and not only is he a great dentist and a great son, but he's got a wonderful wife, and he's given me my first grandbaby, Caroline, who's amazing, and they're expecting number 2. But Jordan, I really appreciate you coming in, because what we've seen is we've seen the world totally change upside down with this pandemic and the COVID-19 and how it's affected my business and your business. And what I wanted to do is kind of get your perspective and tell us a little bit, how has the COVID-19 affected the dental community and your practice in particular?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I just want to thank Reed, you, and I want to thank Dad. I want to thank you for letting me spend some time tonight with you guys. I want to thank everyone who's tuning in tonight too. My hope is that, you know, I can the next few minutes give you something that will help you over the next couple of weeks, even if it's just a little something here. But yeah, you mentioned how, you know, this virus has affected dentistry. You know, it's affected so many things. And this is a great, I guess, picture of our office right here. I love to show this office off, which it's looked like this, and the parking lot has looked like this for the last couple of weeks too. But you know, March 17th was the last day that I can really remember a normal day. You know, where we had a full schedule and we practiced, you know, normally, or what I can remember of with normalcy. But what we've really focused on these last couple of weeks and months since that time is we really heeded the advice and the recommendations by our state dental association, by our national dental association, which have recommended that, we focus our efforts on emergent and urgent care. And so that's what we've really been doing. We've postponed all of our elective care, cleanings, our normal restorative work, which has been a big change for us. But, it is something that has allowed us to really, in a good way, give us some time to refocus ourselves, really to be able to look at our practice and be able to say, how can we better ourselves in this time? Where are some areas of weakness that we can really make better?
One thing I want to just kind of jump into a little bit too, Jordan, I know you're kind of seeing how you can better improve your practice like we are at Berry Financial Group. One thing I will say, because I know you've had a lot of time off, I've had more time off than I would like, but one of the things I've really enjoyed is I've enjoyed having my entire family together. I mean, we've done a lot of meals together. We played tennis together. We've done a lot of things that families don't do. So I think that there's a silver lining in everything. And you just have to find the good in whatever situation you're in.
That's exactly right. That is totally right. And I can't say enough how it's given us a lot of time to be able to spend together. And that's something that is unique and I've just cherished as well. How this has affected, I've talked about how it's affected us, at Myrtle Beach Dental. But, one of the things that I think has been the coolest to see is how the dental community has utilized certain technologies that we have available to us to be able to meet needs. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is this slide that I put on the screen shows a design that a computer-aided design of one of these respirators, which we all know are in such high demand. And basically what a lot of dentists have done is they've utilized technology that we would typically use towards making a dental restoration, like a crown or something like that. And they've turned their focus to say, okay, let's take this mask, let's actually design a mask, and let's 3D print this mask. And that's been huge for the dental community, but it's also been huge to help with the medical community as well, with such high demand for these types of items and such low supply. So that's been the biggest effects, how it's affected us, but how I've seen it really bring out the positive and unify us as well as our medical colleagues.
We've seen, some of the states doing a lift on the shelter in place at this point in time. So you're really starting to see where a lot of the governors are trying to get people back at work. I don't know what going back to normalcy, having some type of normalcy will be going forward. But when do you think, do you have any idea when your practice is going to be back up and running at some type of normal schedule again? I mean, I know we keep saying that word normal. I don't even know what that means anymore. But when do you really see your practice really getting geared back up and you're back to seeing patients on, pretty much on a daily basis?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And, really reopening is something that we're looking at right now very heavily, something that we're super focused on. And we're still really relying on our state and our national dental associations to be able to give us more direction here. You mentioned the landscape looks so much different from state to state based on how the virus has affected each of us differently. And, we're really optimistic here where we are, at Myrtle Beach Dental, that we're going to be what we'll call reopening in the next few weeks. Our goal is to do that sometime in May. Now, reopening and what that looks like, it's going to be a very abbreviated schedule. It's going to be very different. We're not going to be able to jump back into things like, like the way that we were before. And that's really what we're looking at. But we've got plans in place. We're already working with our staff. We're training them on these new protocols, the safety measures that we're going to be taking to make sure that safety is the #1 priority for our staff, for ourselves, and for our patients. And that's something that we're working with very, very diligently right now. So that's the best answer I've got. It's not a perfect answer, but we do see, some light in the future, and we're excited about that.
So like some of the viewers that are listening here, what are some of the measures that y'all are using to make sure that the people that are coming in your door, that they are going to be protected? Not only are they going to be protected, but you're also going to be protected too. So what are y'all really doing to put those features and stuff and the things that you're implementing in your practice to protect everybody?
Yeah, that's a great question too. The dental office is not everyone's favorite place to go, and that's something that we know. There's
Stop
all
right there. So I got to ask. So why is there? I really want to ask you this question, and you and I talk about this sometimes. Why is there such a huge fear for somebody going to the dentist? I didn't grow up with that fear. I always had cleanings. That was something my mother wanted me to do. I'm very thankful for that. But why is there such a fear for people going to the dentist?
Right. I think that there's a couple of different factors at play, on that. I think sometimes it deals with a past experience.
Okay.
When you have some individuals that maybe unlike you didn't have a favorable experience at the dentist, and that really sticks with you. And that's definitely one of the things that we hear a lot. The other thing I think is fear of the unknown. And you're in a very vulnerable position. You have your full trust in your dentist and whoever it is that's working with you at that point in time, and you're vulnerable. And so, I really think that, that happens, or that deals a lot with the way that we try to educate patients in what we are doing so that they have an idea of what's going on. Because I really think if you can take a lot of that fear of the unknown away, we can't always take memories away. We can't take away past experiences, but we can certainly take that fear of the unknown, or at least some of that, out of the equation. And that's something that, has proven to be very successful with us.
I know you wouldn't say this, but I also think it has to do with the personality of the dentist. When you're around a dentist that has a calming, nurturing personality, I think that goes a long way with people. And sometimes you don't have that with some of the dentists out there. And I can say this, although the viewers don't know that, but that is who you are. Reed can vouch for that too, although Reed's not a very good patient, but we took care of him, okay?
So true, so true. But getting back to, some of the new patient safety measures that we're really taking at this point in time to make sure that our priority continues to be patient safety. Some of the things that we're doing is we're pre-screening patients via telephone. And what I mean by that is we're looking at patients that, we're going to call high-risk patients. And that means two different things. One of those things means high risk to themselves. And what I would do is I would put those patients in a category, patients that are older than 65, patients with a compromised immune system, patients with other diseases, comorbidities, medical conditions. Diabetes is one where the blood sugar is uncontrolled, and we know how that affects the immune system. And so that puts that patient at a higher risk of having more morbidity if they contract this type of disease. And so we're trying to encourage those patients to stay home, keep yourself safe. So that would be the high risk patients that are high risk to themselves. The other thing that we're trying to screen out there is patients that could pose a risk, obviously, to us or to the other patients or to the staff that may have been, whether it was, under their knowing or not, exposed to someone with this disease, this virus, and could be possibly contagious. So pre-screening is a huge thing for us right now that we're doing with all of our front desk, staff at this point in time. An empty waiting room strategy sounds so weird. We've got this nice big waiting room that, we've designed to keep patients comfortable, and we're not even using it this time, or we're trying not to. We're having people wait in their vehicles, call into our office, and that's how we're checking patients in. Mm-hmm. We're meeting them at the front door, and then we're bringing them directly back to the operatory so that we don't have that time where people are congregated. We don't have to worry about social distancing and transmitting, things that way if that were an issue.
I love that. I think that's something we may implement at Berry Financial Group for a few months too, because our number one goal is we want people to feel safe and secure. But also, I personally want to get back to seeing people. I miss that personal contact with people. Y'all know we've been doing webinars. I've done a lot of Zoom calls. I've done a lot of conference calls. For me, it's not the same. So I'm looking forward to where we get more people back in the door, but safety will be a top priority here too.
Absolutely. Some of the other things that we're doing too is we're assessing everyone's temperature as they walk in the door. We're taking that baseline vital reading because we know that is one of the telltale signs, early on in the virus, even if there aren't any other symptoms there. Hand hygiene is huge. That's something that we're having patients be very diligent about as they walk in the door so that we can make sure hands are clean. We're even doing a preoperative mouth rinse. And so, that's something that is nothing special about this rinse we're using. We're taking a 3% peroxide solution, we're diluting it down to 1%, and we're having patients swish for 30 seconds and spit. Not to get too deep into the science of that, but we know this virus is very easily denatured, or it's very easily oxidized by that hydrogen peroxide, even in such a low content. And so that's what we're doing and what we're utilizing with that preoperative mouth rinse. We talked a lot about the reduced schedule and how we're going to be opening up, of course, social distancing. And then we're trying to check people out from the operatory so that they have less contact moving forward through the front desk.
So, Jordan, any advice at this time for people or dental patients in general as we navigate through the upcoming weeks and months when it comes to dental care?
I think that's great. And yeah, that's a good question too. And I do have a few points that I want to hit there. The one thing I did want to mention, even before we get there, is what we're doing to protect our staff.
Okay.
And that is not a long list of things, but I think that's one of where it goes into fear of the unknown too. And now you think you may go to the dentist office and this guy or lady's coming at you with a hazmat suit on. And yes, we do look kind of funny in the office now. We do look a little bit different, but still all of our normal personal protective equipment are things that we'll still utilize. But the biggest two changes that we're making at this point in time are the masks that you see on the screen. You've heard a lot about N95 respirators. Yep. The composition of this mask may be a little bit different than a regular surgical mask, but the biggest difference is the seal that it creates around your face. And in an environment like the dental office where there are aerosols, meaning we're using drills, we're using other ultrasonic instruments that are basically taking microbes in the mouth and they're putting them into the air, we've got to protect ourselves and protect the staff from that. So that is one big change. The other thing is something like a face shield that you would see that maybe not commonplace in this era of dentistry. Maybe before some we've had that, but that's certainly something that's coming back into play to protect our staff too. And of course, many of your dental offices and medical offices are actually encouraging their staff to launder their scrubs or their work clothes on site so that they're not taking anything home to their family. And that's certainly something that we're implementing as well. But you did say, what is this? What advice can we give to people
sure.
as they move forward? And, the biggest thing I would say is just really following the advice of our public officials, trying to live inside these boundaries because they're for our protection and they're for everyone else's protection around us. So really heeding that advice there. I can't say enough about the frequent hand washing. I know that you've heard this so much out there, but one of the great things out there that we know about this virus, there's still a lot that we don't know, but we do know that it's very, very easily killed with just hand washing. And it doesn't have to be a special soap. Doesn't have to be an antibacterial soap. You can go on the CDC's website, which is absolutely chock full of information on how to keep yourself safe at this point in time. I would encourage you to do that. But they put out a statement too that says, hey, you wash your hands with just regular soap. You don't need antibacterial soap to actually kill this virus. And that's certainly something that I can't stress enough. Social distancing and then avoiding high-risk areas. That's another thing. And I want to mention too that we talked about it. The dental office is a high-risk area. So if you fall into that category, of being older than 65, of having some of these other medical conditions, comorbidities, my advice would be to stay in the protection, of your own home, in and outside your home, and avoid these big crowds and high-risk areas like that, at this point in time. The last thing I would say is just practice patience. As a patient, practicing patience is probably the best thing that, helps your medical or your dental care provider at this point in time, because we're in a place right now where we've had to schedule such a high volume of patients at this point in time. We can't absorb that in the next couple of weeks or months, even on especially with the reduced schedule. And so, that's certainly something that we are working diligently to get back on track, get these people back in. But it's going to take some time, and the patience goes such a long way with that.
have you heard, like, is there an amount of time that we should be constantly washing our hand in terms, like, should it be 30 seconds? I think, I may have heard you say something before, like when you're brushing your teeth, you should be singing the song. I don't know if it was the happy birthday song or what song it was, but, maybe we should be singing that song and washing our hands. And once the song's over, then we know, hey, we've done a good job of cleaning our hands.
I think that's great. And yeah, you mentioned it. It's the happy birthday song, and it's 20 seconds of hand washing with soap. And you're really just making sure that you're getting up underneath your fingernails, you're getting in between all the creases of your fingers, just not leaving anything out. But it's pretty simple, to do that. And that's a great frame of reference to be able to know that you're doing that in the right frame of mind.
Awesome. Last thing, Jordan, do you have any other thoughts on anything that we didn't cover today that deals with this COVID-19?
The biggest thing that I would say taken away from this probably goes back to the first slide that Reed mentioned. And that's just focusing in on the truth. And when I look at the truth, God's word is the truth, for us and for our household. And the verse that I've really been focused on is Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. I read that verse, and we all want all things to be good things, but it doesn't say that. It said in all things, he works for our good. And at this point in time, that's something that I'm wholeheartedly clinging on to, that although this virus hasn't been good, it's had so many negative effects. I know that in all things, even in this virus, he's working for our good, and that there are good things to come out there.
I love that verse, and I want to just say something about it very quickly. It says in the Bible, which that's the truth to us, is that you will have trials and tribulations. You're going to face some difficulty times. The thing about it, though, is you're going to be able to go through the storm that we're seeing, because God's in control and he's got it. And I think the whole thing about this storm, it's been difficult. And I don't think the issue is just making it through the storm, Jordan. I think it's about getting through the storm and being better. And I think God's showing some grace on this country right now. I think he's allowed us to have some more family time. And it's just a time to reflect and also hopefully look upward for the answers instead of looking out at the world.
I totally agree. And I think that the biggest thing that we can do is embrace this trial, like you mentioned. And God doesn't call us to be stagnant. He calls us to be dynamic and to always be changing. And that's, one thing that I know is that you mentioned a new normal, not knowing what normal is. I think we're not going to go back to our normal, and that may not be a bad thing. That may be a very good thing for all of us to find this new normal. But the one thing that I do know is that you at Berry Financial Group and us at Myrtle Beach Dental Associates are going to be here regardless of the circumstances to serve, our patient population, our client population, regardless of what, circumstances we have thrown at us.
I agree with that. I love to think this. I say this all the time, if God is with us, who can be against us? And, one thing that we're going to have, and we're going to have change. And you either can embrace it or you can have all types of stress and anxiety about it. I don't know how tomorrow is going to look, but I know a Savior who does. And I know you're going to be blessed because I know you live for him, and you've taken your faith and you've taken all your expertise into this practice. I'm so proud of you, man. I do nothing but wish you the greatest success in the world, because you deserve it and you're living for the good Lord every day. Anything else we need to share before I bring Reed back in?
I would just say thank y'all for having me on tonight. I've had a great time with you all, and I'm going to turn it back over to Reed at this point.
All right. Thank you, buddy. Love you, man. All right. You heard it from Dr. Jordan Berry. Listen, if you need a dentist, if you want somebody who has a passion about taking care of people and who's really a perfectionist and a passion in his field of expertise, listen, please call him. They'll take great care of you. Reed, what do you think about the time I had with Jordan?
Oh man, it was absolutely amazing. I feel like I need to do 3 things. I need to shout the name of Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I need to brush my teeth, and I need to wash my hands.
I agree with every bit of that.
So those are the 3 things. But it's so cool to have a dentist in the family, and one that is so nice and just a great Christian and family man that Jordan is. You know, I have first experience. You want your dentist to have real soft hands, and he's got some of the softest hands and most accurate hands, which really helps him at the tennis net when he's volleying, but it does not help his serve a whole lot. But that's for another story. So Myrtle Beach Dental Associates, a great association that we love to be partnered with. And whatever you heard tonight, whether it's a recap for weeks 1 through 6 about some of the services we provide, or even if you want to get a hold of Dr. Barry, you can do it 2 ways. You could call them directly at Myrtle Beach Dental Associates, or to get to us, go to barryfg.com/schedule meeting. If you're looking at reviewing your accounts, if you want to learn more about the index annuities, how to get tax-free money, Medicare supplements, long-term care planning, go to www.barryfg.com/schedule meeting. We're doing virtual meetings now, of course, but the offices should be opening up within the next couple of weeks.
That's the goal.
That is the goal. And invite a friend. That's the biggest thing that you can do for us. It's the biggest compliment you can give. It's such a blessing to have everyone on here tonight. And invite a friend. We did a lot of things in the past with in-person seminar events. You could bring a friend to the dinner seminars, but of course, those have been put on hold. So invite a friend to a webinar. We'd love to have them on. And then we're very excited for our brand new digital seminar experience that we're introducing Thursday, May 28th at 6 p.m. So we've been using Zoom software for this. It's been awesome. Love Zoom. But we're going to bring in more of a digital seminar experience. And we're going to talk about the power of indexing. The more I learn about the fixed index annuities, the index universal life policies, and the positions that give you some of the market upside, but none of the downside exposure, the more I absolutely love it.
You're not going to want to, listen, you don't want to miss this. We're going to really dive into the specifics of how the indexing works. This is going to be over the top. And also, it's going to be pretty cool with this new digital experience that we're going to be rolling out.
Very excited. So go to www.barryfg.com/power of indexing. Very easy. barryfg.com/power of indexing. Just go to our website. It'll take you to the page. And just once again, Barry Financial has been serving pre-retirees and retirees and giving them peace of mind since 1987. We love all of our clients. It's been a blessing. The best is yet to come. This is a little hiccup in time. And you said it in the past, a setback is really a great setup for a great comeback.
No doubt about it. Listen, we've faced obstacles before. This is the greatest nation in the world. It's faced many, many challenges. We will come back. We will see job creation. Listen, it's going to take some time. We've seen our economy get decimated by the COVID-19. Stay positive, help your neighbor, pray for your neighbor, do what you can, be a friend, show kindness to people. And let me just tell you, God will bless this nation, Reed.
Amen. The best is yet to come. God bless y'all. It's been an incredible 7 weeks of webinars, but we're coming to you again with the power of indexing on May 28th.
Take care, everybody. God bless.